Welcome back to Pico Rivera, everybody. We are moving into our round 4. This is the final round of Swiss before we move into our top cut. And this next matchup is going to be interesting. Two players who are 2-1, a potential trip to top cut on the line. We're going to have Boomerbrhel back on stream, and this time he's going to be facing off against another fixture of our locals, CalebPeng. Bastidon Master himself, only not so much anymore. Quagsire is just a little bit too good these days to bring Bastidon, so we have kind of a new Bastidon, if you will. The Shadow Steelix, following in the footsteps of Drake earlier. What Caleb's going to find here is that the Shadow Swampert is going to be pretty interesting because if you're Boomer looking at Caleb's team, you can see clearly that the Shadow Swampert has energy that goes everywhere, and it looks like we're getting right into the matchup straight away. Corsola into Corviknight lead. And this is not a bad place to be as Boomerbrhel. You have to deal with super effective paybacks, but Corsola is routinely able to bulk out this matchup, and that's going to put maybe his Swampert in a pretty good position as long as he can keep shields for it. Comes the first payback. Even though knowing it's a payback, you generally don't shield it, but Boomerbrhel opting to shield early, gonna say, you know what, I think my Corsola has more play. So it doesn't need to just soft win over the Corviknight. I'm actually gonna keep it alive and see if I can get some utility out of it in the back. So, are we going to see any catch attempts? No, just going to opt to throw this straight away. Caleb's going to be happy to take the shield advantage. And we'll see which one gets brought in. Probably the Quag? No, going to go for Steelix here. Take this energy. Makes sense. For Caleb, you just have to be worried about maybe seeing exactly what you're going to see in a second here. Swampert, he hard swaps it in. Hard swaps it in. The Swampert doesn't want to concede that farm down and just going to send in the Swampert straight away. But this is going to let Caleb keep his Steelix away from it. Bring in the Quag instead, which is not the hardest answer to Swampert, but it is going to be able to cleanly outpace these Aquatails. It is going to be able to survive the Hydro Cannon. And things might not be as clear-cut. The good news for Boomer is, though, that I only just noticed CalebPeng is running Psychic Fangs and Crunch on that Steelix. And Psychic Fangs and Crunch is usually the best set for Steelix, but it has one major drawback, which is that you cannot do anything at all with Guzzlord. And what do we see in the back for Boomerbrhel? So, gonna opt to send it straight in, gonna full send it straight in, keep some energy on the, keep some energy on Swampert, maybe go for another Hydro Cannon later. But this is gonna take a lot of damage here. And Steelix is still pretty healthy. Steelix has a very, very bad matchup into this, but with the health whittled down this much, this could be kind of a turning point. It's going to take another Brutal Swing to deal with this. Going to opt to get out with the Aquatail. Here comes Steelix. It's going to have a hard time farming down, but you might be at the point where it's so low that Crunch could be enough to do it. And 2 Brutal Swings are not quite going to be enough. So here comes the Crunch. Caleb. It should not be enough to kill. Brutal Swing should be enough, but this is going to put it in range of maybe one more Mud Shot down. No, going to bail out into the Swampert. Gets the Hydro Cannon off. Going to be a close endgame. There is still the Corsola in the back. Can Caleb possibly get enough energy? No. Not quite. Just going to be a little short. Had to throw this move to get this off, but the problem is there's just still a little bit too much Corsola in the back, even if you didn't have this Brutal Swing. So, Boomer up 1-0. Shadow Swampert able to show exactly what it was made of in that game. So, going into game 2, what do we see as an adjustment from Caleb? Maybe you could consider a Metacham. Even though there's a Corsola on the side of Boomerbrhel, Metacham is still going to give you a pretty decent shot as long as it's not stuck there. A Corsola Wigglytuff combination is viable. It's maybe a little soft into Caleb's own Wigglytuff, but I'd still say that's a pretty workable position. So, what's the big call from Caleb gonna be? Maybe the drawback of Metacham is that even if you have a decent matchup into that Shadow Swampert, you're still getting outpaced the Hydro Cannons, and the Hydro Cannons add up in a big way. So maybe Metacham, well, we'll see what's his idea for an adjustment is here. We have a Corv lead, Corv Mirror lead. And this mostly just comes back to who has the higher attack stat. It's borderline impossible to bait in this matchup. Caleb just gonna let it go first, not confident in winning that cap tie. Not that it would do him any good anyway. I'm gonna opt to save the energy and bank it into Quagsire, try and get a head start on something. Boomer letting him get all that energy and then brings in the Corsola. And this is a huge bait out for Caleb. Massive bait out. Gets the Corsola. Corsola is going to safely absorb all this energy and probably take out Quag. But we'll have to see what happens in the end game, because that backline looks a little threatening to Caleb. The Night Shade should be about enough to kill, maybe a little bit short. A little bit short. So another Aqua Tail comes through, and this actually might just be enough to pick up the knockout. Can I actually flip this matchup on the swap? I guess it can when you give it 8 mud shots or something. But a huge farm down. The second Aqua Tail doesn't come through. Wow, I thought Aqua Tail was coming in for sure, but we're not able to get it down, get a payback off. Still has some energy. So, Swampert's still fully healthy in the back. Knows full well this is a payback, but knows full well he can take it. And he should outpace to the second payback at this point. So, do we see a move from Caleb? We do. Move straight into Metacham. This is going to be really awkward. Metacham is not going to enjoy taking a Hydro Cannon, but it can definitely take one. And if you're Boomer, you really can't take Dynamic Punches. That's going to set up a pretty nice bait here for Caleb. Get one Psycho Cut ahead and avoid some of the pitfalls of that 5-4 pacing on the Swampert. The next Dynamic Punch is going to add up, and you know you can take a Hydro. Dynamic Punch is going to absolutely massacre a Swampert if it comes through, so you're going to see an immediate shield from Boomer, and that's going to queue up Caleb for another great bait. And now things are really getting complicated for Boomer here. Going to be able to throw. Going to have to keep count of where the Metacham is at. Does it have a move? Or do we see a catch attempt? No, just gets it through. Dynamic Punch is going to pick up the knockout, and Caleb's Corviknight in the back is still waiting with a lot of health to be able to handle. It even doesn't even quite knock out, able to get a free sand attack there. Not going to outpace this payback, but it shouldn't be quite enough to knock out. So Caleb's own payback will come through, and it looks like he's going to take this game number 2. Another great adjustment. We haven't seen a single bad set today, I wouldn't say. Very close games on all sides. And yet another one going to decisive game number 3. So, back to the drawing board as Boomer. Swampert has carried you to victory. It came up a little short. It was forced to stick up against the Metacham, which was able to just outbulk it and even get a couple of cheeky baits because it's so hard to take that damage on your Swampert. What do we see as an adjustment? Caleb, do you take a chance on bringing back Shadow Steelix? I don't know if you really need to. Corviknight, Corsola, Quagsire. It'll be close, but I'm perfectly prepared to bet that we'll see that Quag coming back from Caleb. How can we possibly back up Swampert as Boomerbrhel? Boomer may be wondering if Fortress could be an option. I don't know, we'll see. No, just gonna stick with some of his safe mons. Gonna get Swampert into Medicham lead. This is not the lead you want because you are gonna pace at the same rate to that first move. Caleb not gonna throw on the alignment, which is a pretty safe call. You don't want to get a dynamic punch caught on the Corsola or something like that. So, Boomer gonna have to just throw that Hydro and bail out. Gonna take this dynamic punch damage on to his Corviknight. A strong play. This is going to give the Wigglytuff and back from Caleb a lot more room to work with, getting to avoid the Steel type, but Boomer should still have a lot of play here. Now off to save the Medicham, come in with Quag, get some energy. It's not nearly in Aquapil range. You might have to throw Stone Edge, you might have to bait. See how things play out. Gonna go for the early shield, which is going to turn out to be massive for Boomerbrhel here. He gets an Air Cutter bait. Do we get an attack boost? Not quite. Just going to go for second Air Cutter. Going to opt to get guaranteed damage. Not going to go for the big move. Not going to mess around with maybe getting baited by an Aqua Tail. Just going to see what he can get from this matchup. So here comes the move from Caleb. It is going to probably be enough to pick up the knockout. And here comes Wiggly. So Boomer making a strong call that Steelix was not going to see the field in game number 3. Going to be able to wiggle down this Quag. Caleb's going to have to save it alive, keep it alive, fail into his own Wigglytuff, but now he's pretty behind energy. Boomer's Wiggly is in range to die to 1 charge attack. So he's going to opt to switch in and take advantage of the shield advantage he has. Going to be able to throw the first move, gets... I would think an instant shield, yeah. Shield comes in from Wigglytuff, because the Sludge would be enough to knock out. Going to be able to take a shield here on his own, but Boomer's still going to have a shield to work with. He's going to be able to safely throw the Sludge here. There's no catch available. Not yet. And here comes the Sludge. Or the Hydro in this case, actually. Going for a Hydro Cannon, which will still be enough to knock out. No Icy Wind debuff came through. There's just not a lot of health left on the Caleb side, and Boomer has a half-health Wiggly and shield. Going to make a smart play, going to force the Quag to throw its energy before bringing in the Wigglytuff. He has a shield to hide behind. I don't think Eddie has any energy to flip this matchup. Moment of truth. Eddie did have the energy. Alright, made a fool out of me. Medi did have the energy for a dynamic punch, and it is going to be enough to knock out. I did not know Medi had that much energy waiting in the back. Caleb making the great play in the lead to save it, keeping it alive, getting a pretty decent lead, but talking it over. Yeah, talking over some of the matchup. I don't know, that was pretty close. There were definitely ways for Boomer to take that, but I think Caleb just had a great adjustment in Game 3 as well. And with that, our Swiss rounds are finished. We are going to move into our top cut, and we will see Boomerbrhel there. Who else will we see? You're going to find out.